Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Today, we'll be talking about less is more, grow and personal OKRs. I'm super excited to share this journey with you. And as we talk about work and what work means to us, how to extend our lives around work and beyond, I've realized that over the past few years that success meant bringing the best on each other. And whether it's my team members, other communities, other leaders. It was all about bringing folks together and achieving the impossible, creating new possibilities for each of us. This opportunity here has always been the most exciting, and I enjoyed it and gave it my all. So I wanted to share what happiness meant for me at work and how it helped me build trust and credibility across organizations. So thank you so much for joining this P-Shop. Today we'll be talking about grow and personal OKRs and how to set yourself up for success. Before we start, let's take a 2-minute mindfulness practice. And we'll be going through Why Is It Works mindfulness practice on teamwork, because this is appropriate for us talking about work and how to establish that together. So whenever you're ready, join with me.
This is a 2-minute practice designed to increase collaboration and teamwork in your meeting. I invite you to participate to whatever extent you feel comfortable. However you find yourself, notice your feet on the ground and then move a little bit to find more ease. Allow your eyes to look down at 45 degrees with a soft focus, or fully close if you would like. And let's start by taking a deep breath in and out. When Google conducted an in-depth company-wide study to identify the most important factor for their high-performance teams, they made a surprising discovery. It was psychological safety. When a team or a group feels psychologically safe, they are able to innovate, solve complex problems effectively, and rebound from failures faster and stronger, because everyone is viewed as a respected member of the group. And psychological safety can be cultivated by developing empathy. Empathy is feeling and understanding another person's experience. And one way of doing this is to imagine yourself in their shoes. Think of a person in this meeting that you are in now, and bring to mind the role that they are holding in the team. What are their responsibilities? And what might be some of the challenges of being in that role? And what might be some of the benefits of being in that role? Notice how you feel imagining yourself in their shoes. And having empathy for another person's experience increases our ability to relate well to them and their role in the team. The better that we're able to empathize with someone's experience, the more likely we are to interact with them in a way that supports them feeling psychologically safe. Allow your eyes to open more fully and refocus. And let's finish by taking a deep breath in and out.
How is everyone feeling? This is a beautiful mindfulness practice with Why Is It Work, an app that has probably changed how I start my meetings, and this is one of the meeting starters. There are a few others that you can check out. Mindfulness isn't difficult. We just need to remember to do it, says Sharon Salzberg, and I couldn't agree more. So let's actually kick it off, and let me tell you a little bit about myself. Hi, everyone. Hola, my name is Manickam, and I am thrilled to be here amongst all the happiness experts and everyone here who's passionate about bringing change into the world. For me, there are 3 key themes and topics that have been top of mind: stress and anxiety, mindfulness and essentialism, diversity and belonging. And having this opportunity to present at the World Happiness Week is beyond imagination for me. So thank you, Luis, and the World Happiness team. My core values are just 3. Inspire, all about trust and credibility. Influence is all about extreme ownership, owning the good, the bad, and the ugly. And impact is about results and relationships. Oftentimes, as organizations, we think that results is all we need. But I've seen that success always depends on the relationships that you build, even beyond your role. And that's what has helped me grow in my career. So if you look at who you are and where you want to be, some of these photos, the one in the middle, where you can see ducks are rowing in one direction, there's one duck that's going in the opposite direction. I like to think that's me, because I'm always challenging the status quo, always asking, why do we do the things we do? And not okay with assuming that's the way it should be done going forward. To share my journey, I've self-published 2 books. My first one is A Broken Teacup, sharing my journey through stress and anxiety, what it meant for me, and how mindfulness, essentialism, and self-care helped me heal and also help others heal together. Fearless, Be the Authentic Leader You'll Follow is my journey of what it means to be an authentic leader and how you can actually bring mindfulness and essentialism into your day-to-day work, into your team meetings, and into who you are as a leader. That's why the mindfulness practice, starting off in my meetings, has been a critical component over the past year. And I love taking photos, so you'll see flowers and food and just nature. We were fortunate in Raleigh for my first time here to experience snow about 3 inches, and I was delighted as a child. So stay tuned and let's actually dive into Grow. So when we think about Grow, goal, reality, options, and what's next, there are a few elements and aspects that you can think of. When you think about goal, that's what do you want? And oftentimes we as organizations are really good at establishing the core elements of what is a goal, what OKRs do we want to set as a company, as a team. But have you ever asked yourself the question, what are my personal OKRs? What do I want to do in my work, my career, and even extend this beyond to life growth? And I'll give you some examples of my own personal journey there. So I have 3, as you'll see, the theme of 3 continues. I have 3 areas that I think has been beneficial for me and as well as for over 30 mentees across different communities that I have mentored. The first one is thinking about your goal. What do you want? The second is reality. Where are you now? Asking the question, where are you now, is important because you might not know where you're going and what it'll take for you to get to the next step. Options are, what could you do? There are many things you could do, so let's write them down. And then what's next is, what will you do? And as part of that, what's next is where I bring the personal OKRs component. And this is bringing 2 frameworks together. The GROW model is one that has been designed by Sir John Whitmore. And it was an opportunity for me to experience it through my Dell leadership training. So it's my pleasure to share this with all of you here. So the first and foremost is career, work, and life growth. Your role, your experience, your responsibility are the things that you want to work on. Work-life balance. This has become more and more important, irrespective of whether we were working remotely or not. And I know that as individuals, work takes 90% of our time most of the time. So how do you bring that work-life balance, whether it's your own health, your family, taking care of yourself, right? If you're not focusing on self-care, how will you make sure that you're helping others, whether it's within your team, your family, your communities, and so on and so forth. And then last but not least is skill development. It's always important to think about continuous learning and feedback, because if you are not looking at continuous learning, then what are we doing, right? So that's been at least important for me. Most recently, I have gone back to learning Spanish again. And every morning I've dedicated 30 minutes to try different mediums to actually help me to learn. So this is very critical as well. So let's actually dive in. And I'm giving you a few examples just to give you a flavor of what it could look like, right? So your end goals, your personal OKRs are something that you will work together to put together. put it in frame. But the high level, if you look to the right, in 2018, I had specific goals. My first objective was to accelerate my career growth. My second objective was to build my personal brand and thought leadership. So I had set up some specific key results to align with those. As I progressed in 2020, I realized my first objective was not important to me anymore. My objective modified into do good in the community with technology and design. And that's where mentoring became a big part of who I am. Then my second objective, I expanded on it. So when I had started with writing one story, I expanded it to writing 3 stories a month, reading more, learning new skills, practicing mindfulness and meditation. These all became important elements. And then with one of the books that changed my life, I was able to take inspiration from an idea of writing down the top 10 things that's important for you as an individual. And so I realized that for me, there's only one objective in life, and that is to live my life to the fullest every single day. And sounds very simple, but the reality is it needs to be done one moment at a time and one day at a time, because I realized my anxiety creeps up if I don't have things in order. So I looked at these 10 things to help me focus on meaningful work, practice mindfulness, practice essentialism, make sure I dedicate time for my walks. I call them my walk to remember, make sure that I'm sleeping well, which was one of the things that got impacted with my anxiety. Having these things have been critical. And when you think about work, it's not just going 9 to 5 and just being busy. It's about doing deep, meaningful work, which is what I share in the book. And then when you think about additional things, like if you want to learn something, I told you about learning Spanish, reading a book, all of these are critical for your own well-being. Making sure you're looking at all these things. And towards the end, you will see I also had stop social media posts because I realized I was contributing to the information overload and it wasn't doing well for me. So find ways on what will help you be who you are and practice mindfulness and essentialism all the way. Because it's not just for your mind, it's also for your body and soul. And when all those 3 are connected, your happiness index is on the top. And that's what we are aspiring for. So let's actually go into some of these examples. The first one is, what has been your career or life journey so far? So think about milestones in work. Think about what those aspects are. We'll spend maybe a few minutes here. Let's give maybe 5 minutes to go through those. So take a pen and paper and write down what your career and life journey is. All right. So to give you some examples, these could be your current role. It could be what you're doing as part of your work. It could be part of your life milestones that you have. These are areas where you can think of opportunities to consider as your highlights or your lowlights. There could be different ways that you can group them. And this is a way for you to think about your life journey in a nutshell. Writing these down, whether by year or milestones, and then what those memories are. Here is the document for reference as you're going through defining your career life journey. So in this, we have a few areas, right? We talked about the career, work growth, the work-life balance, your skill development, and you're basically ranking what's important to you. Which of these, if you say all of them are important, then very likely it'll be a big task for you to take on. So let's prioritize and focus on what's the top number one. And then we're going to what has been your career and life journey so far. Now that you've taken the time to write those things down, let's actually go into the next section. What do you enjoy the most? What do you dislike? Which environment do you thrive? And which environment hurts your creativity and growth? These may sound as simple questions, but it can actually have a profound effect on how you think about where do you find joy? Where do you find happiness at work? And other environments that actually help you to grow, and other environments that hurt your creativity and growth. These are all key elements to consider. So switching back to the presentation. We talked about what our personal OKRs are, what's next. We also looked at what your career and life journey has been so far. And then we looked at how do you enjoy the most, or what do you enjoy the most in work life? What do you dislike the most in work and other experiences? What does it mean for us to keep going when it is about the environment that you're in? Which environment hurts your creativity and growth? These are all important questions to consider. Now, if you have answered some of these questions, and we'll spend a few minutes to go through this. So take a note and write down where you think you are. All right, let's actually move forward. Once you've identified what it is that you enjoy and what environments that you thrive in, use those as a guiding area when you are looking for a change in your jobs, when you're looking for life-changing moments. These are all areas where you can make sure that you're making the right decision, especially as you're looking at new roles or new responsibilities. even new job environments. And this is why it's important to know how the workplace is, what's the culture, because at the end of the day, these are all elements that are going to bring people together. So you need to make sure you have those pieces together. So the next step is now actually diving into the goal, reality, and options. This is a good point for discussion because what do you want seems like an easy question, but the reality is there's a lot that you can uncover. So if you have looked at the prior examples where we talked about career, life growth values, we talked about work-life balance, we talked about continuous learning, your skill development. If one of those are your goals, let's define them. Let's prioritize. And if you have about 3 that you have outlined, let's just focus on the first one, the one that is most important to you. Work through those, get those in the right place, and then go into the next one. The reality is where you are now, right? Maybe an example that I can give you is I have worked in different companies, and now I want to create my own business. This is a great opportunity for understanding where you are now. You can share your examples of, I have worked over 10 years in businesses, in startups, in Fortune 500 companies, and I've been a product marketing leader. So this is where the reality kicks in. Now, when you look at options, what could you do? This is where you are looking at areas where you are expanding on, and this is where you and I will be having a conversation talking about these things, because sometimes just asking these questions can help you go deep into what you really want to do and what your real options are. For me, some of the options are creating my own consulting business, trying to figure out what that looks like, looking at maybe part-time opportunities so that I actually have my work-life balance that I'm focused on right now. And looking at those opportunities and ways to expand is a key area. Making sure I am walking every day, that I am also going to the gym every morning, at least 20 minutes, if not 20 minutes, 15 minutes at least, has been a key criteria to make sure that I have my well-being taken into account. And it might sound simple, but days when it is rainy and I cannot go out for a walk and soak in some sunshine, it definitely has an impact on my energy and how I feel. So this is important because when you are at workplaces, and how you show up is just as important as what you do and when you do it. And this is key when you are trying to establish some of those initial ground-breaking segmentations. Also, when you think about options, there are many options out there. But what you want to do is establish the right set and establish how to get these forward. So bring those elements together and you'll see success as we go forward. And then last but not least is your personal OKRs. This is where you are going to now establish what does it look like? What are my objectives? What are my key results? And we'll go back and look at some of those examples now. So let's switch back to the Word document. So once you've completed, what do you enjoy? What do you dislike? What your environment is that you grow in? That's when you go into your goals. So like I mentioned, focus on one. And if you are struggling with focusing on one, take 2 at most. Write down what is the goal that you have. For me, for example, is going to the gym every morning for 15 minutes minimum. And it doesn't matter whether it's a weekday or a weekend. That's something that I put as a personal commitment for my own work-life balance. Because the energy that comes when I go for my spin ride, bringing movement and music and words together, it's very powerful. It can awaken me and give me the start that I need for the day. I didn't realize the power of it until I started doing it. Same is the case for my walk to remember. So most of the days I'm working in the mornings, and after lunch, I'll go for about a 90-minute break, of which it's 30 minutes of walk to either a park or an environment where I can read, either a bench or a seating area. I'll sit there for 30 minutes, read a book, And this is the book that I recently published, Fearless, Be the Authentic Leader You Will Follow. So having books to read has been a great way for me to keep continuously learning. And then I'll walk back 30 minutes, and that's my break. It's a great way to give your mind the time to slow down, give your mind fresh air, sunshine, everything that you need to be successful. So think about your goals. What are those goals that you want to achieve? Then we'll talk about reality, right? Like today we have rain. The reality is I'm not sure if I'll be able to get outside for my walk, but I'm hoping, as most days in Raleigh, we do get pockets of rain, and then there are times when at least it'll stop raining, even if the sun doesn't come out, and if it's cloudy, it's still okay. So that's the reality where I am today. When you think about your career, there may be other options where you're looking at maybe a promotion, maybe a change in roles, maybe you're moving from one industry to another. There are different ways where your reality can become a factor into what you can and cannot do. And then when you look at options, so for my walk to remember example, I would like to look at this as a chance for me to maybe walk on the treadmill, which is an option. I have a gym in the building, apartment building, so that's an option for me. Maybe I will just wait for the rain to stop, and because I know that in a day it's not raining 24/7, I do have that as an opportunity. Similarly, when I look at career opportunities, if I'm looking to switch careers in different industries, maybe I'll talk and connect with other folks that are in similar industries and learn what it takes to make that switch, or find people that have made a switch similar in those industries. Those are great ways to connect. And then the last piece that we just talked about is what's next? What will you do? This is your opportunity to create those objectives and key results. Just like we do it for business, we should also be thinking about it for our own personal OKRs. And I'll share this link with you in the chat. This is where you have John Doerr's TED Talk, a very valuable resource. I actually enjoy it. I always look to it every time I need inspiration, where I'm looking at, okay, am I doing the right things? Am I focusing on the right opportunities? So definitely take a look at that. All right, so let's switch back to our presentation. So this is to give you a lens of where we are and where we are heading. So the intent of this document is to give you a guided process to work through building your OKRs. And the intent is less is more, right? You could possibly have 10 key results in there, but if you can hone in on the most important ones, that makes it much more meaningful than trying to create something that you feel overwhelmed with and you feel like it's not possible to get to. So let me give you a few examples of some personal OKRs that I had established and what that looked like. So we'll go back to the example that I'd shared here. So the first one here in 2018 was about my career growth. And when I looked at my career growth, this was an opportunity for me to get a promotion, move from an individual contributor to a people leader. And for me to establish my career growth, it was also important to build my visibility and make sure that I was looking at opportunities to be a thought leader and also showcase some of the work that I've done. And my first step was creating 2 speaking opportunities. One was internal, and the other was external at the user conference. And then when I looked at my personal brand and thought leadership, this was an opportunity for me to actually start, right? Writing a book didn't happen overnight. And I know it took me a few months to get the book in compilation, but it started with a single step in roughly around, I would say 2016, when I started writing stories. I felt like what I was learning, I wanted to share with other leaders, and realized that there wasn't much information about how to look at going from an individual contributor to a leader and what it takes. So I started reading books about it. I wanted to learn about what it meant to be a leader, what are the things that I don't like about certain management styles. And I realized the servant leadership was the idea and the concept that really resonated with me. I wanted to bring that to life. And so reading books became part of that. And then I started sharing stories. So the Grow and Personal OKRs actually came into existence because of that leadership training that I had at Dell. And then I got a chance to bring two frameworks together because I felt like the Grow model by itself didn't do justice. And it was an opportunity for me to kind of expand on the frameworks that I was building. And the reality is, it was probably one of those experiments that I knew I was missing. So my first role assignment, if you will, when I joined in as the director and as a leader, was to do performance reviews. And as much, and I'm sure some of you are cringing over there, as much as we all have performance reviews, it's not one that we look forward to, and we know that it doesn't do justice with the assessment. So I took the opportunity to create this Grow and Personal OKRs so that we can actually have a conversation prior to that performance review. Ideally, this Grow and Personal OKRs is something that I like to do every quarter. And for the first couple of months, it'll be a weekly or bi-weekly engagement, trying to build the OKRs first, and then have a quarterly check-in to make sure that we're looking at this in the right way. These are all great ways to look at what frameworks make sense and how to bring those together for you. This is a framework that worked successfully for me. And then in 2020, when I started mentoring passionate and mindful souls for their success and happiness, I realized this framework could be the starting point for our conversation. And now over 30 or 40 of these Grow and Personal OKRs that I have run and actually had conversations with folks, I can see the value that this brings, because it gives you the clarity and focus that you need. And it also allows you to streamline some of the work that you do. Because oftentimes work will get in the way, life will get in the way, and what you want to do and how you want to do it can become one of those areas where it is something you want to focus on, but you never get to it. So this opportunity to kind of expand on it and work on it together is an important element. That's where I believe that our success lies. And if you are wondering how to bring those things together, start small. You don't have to take a mountain down, right? Start small. What's that one thing that you want to do? Most recently, I've had a mentee where she shared that she wants to make sure that she's actually going and working out every day. And we realized that working out every day was actually taxing for her. So she broke it down into 3 days a week and then taking rest for the 4 days. That finding a balance is necessary, because doing what you need to do shouldn't be a chore. It should be something that you are excited about. Like when I wake up every morning, I'm looking forward to going to the gym, because I know the on-demand classes that I attend with Peloton gives me the energy and gives me the drive that I need to get my day started. So find those things that make sense. For me, one of the other key results was building and being an advocate and a voice for mental health, stress and anxiety, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I realized that there are a lot of things in the world that needs to be fixed, but these are things that are personal to me, and these are things that I believe that I can bring change forward. And doesn't matter which work environment you're in. When I was at Lenovo, I had a chance to bring mindfulness practices into work. I had a chance to make sure that I'm actually being empathetic. And when I joined the team at Lenovo, I had a chance to work with the team during the pandemic. So we all connected with each other on a personal level. It wasn't something that we were just doing for the sake of doing it. We were actually bonding and actually building the relationships together. And so making sure that you're advocating for what matters to you is also important. And then embracing uncertainty. At work, if there's one thing that's constant, that's change. It'll come when you least expect it. And so being able to embrace uncertainty, fostering relationships, and networking with folks is just as important. When you look at expanding what you want to do, so say you've created your personal OKRs, and now you're looking at, okay, what's next? How do I take this to the next level? That's when you can bring different elements together. You have an opportunity to do what you want to really do. What makes you happy? What gives you the core pure joy that you're looking for. I realized that writing was that for me. When it's my best time and when's my worst time, I probably do the best writing. And I've realized that that's when my true voice comes out. That's when I can really be me. Sometimes those writings start early in the morning when I'm not able to go back to sleep. And that's okay. And for me, that's when I'm recording those ideas and thoughts on my phone, and then having that as my initial draft to work with. So figure out what matters for you. The other area has been about speaking opportunities on culture, core values, and OKRs. These are all elements where you can think about focusing on deep, meaningful work, not just being busy. You can also think of what is it that you are really passionate about. For me, it's about authentic leadership. It's about team values and culture. It's about product marketing. It's about grow and personal OKRs. It's helping you be successful in your career the way you want to define success, not the way that society has defined it or the way it's said to be, because that's not an answer anymore. We are all morphing and we are all changing in our own ways. So I also get personal joy when I share some of my curated travel videos and food videos on YouTube. That's a part of who I am. And I realized that's important for me. So that became my number 7 in my 2021 personal OKRs. It was about my travel videos. It's about sharing my collection of photos on Unsplash. Number 8 became about food, because if there's one thing that defines me, and every conversation that I have with anybody that I talk to, doesn't matter if it's a leader, if it's a mentee or a team member or a family member, it's always, or friends, it's always surrounded around food. So I savor delicacies around the world. One of the best things that Thich Nhat Hanh had taught me through his book, The Miracle of Mindfulness, was savor the dish. Don't just eat it and move on to the next thing, or while you're eating your meal, move on to what you want to do next. There's so much power in it that I didn't realize it. His famous message, when you wash the dishes, came true to me. And now, even though I have a dishwasher, I wash the dishes because it is very therapeutic. It has become my mindfulness practice every day. After I finish my meal, I'll wash the dishes. And when I eat my meal, before I used to either watch TV or listen to some music or some book, because I couldn't think about not just doing anything. I felt like I needed to multitask and do many things. Or I'll be thinking about the next meeting that I need to go to, or the meeting that I just wrapped up. But now I take the time to appreciate the dish that's in front of me and make sure that I'm savoring every bite. These are all important things, because as an individual, who you are and what makes you you are multiple things coming together. So tomorrow we'll actually be talking about one of the concepts, which is the picture perfect introduction, and how this came about being and my journey through it. So I really look forward to seeing some of you there, and looking forward to share some of that journey as well. So as we think about wrapping up, let's take a few minutes to write down what's next. What will you do? Because your personal OKRs are your personal OKRs. They're not company OKRs, they're not team OKRs, they're what you want to achieve. So let's take a few minutes and write down what those personal OKRs are. All right. So next, let me tell you a little bit about what brought me on this journey. And I gave you a few examples through, but let's actually dive into a few of these. These are 21 books that changed my life. Each book has a story, and I'll start with the ones on the left and then move towards the right. But I think the first book that I probably read amongst these is Jonathan Livingstone Seagull, but I'll come back to it in a second. The book of Ichigo. This is about the art of making the most of every moment in a Japanese way. And I wish you all the very best and look forward to bringing Ichigo into your life. Because we should make the most out of every moment in our lives. That's why I embrace the one day at a time, one moment at a time thought process, framework, methodology, philosophy, if you will, because it has been important. Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. When I learned about Ikigai a few years ago, it really piqued my interest. I kept asking, what is my Ikigai? What am I here to do? What is my purpose in this world? Little did I know that I would be part of the World Happiness Foundation, helping others find and seek happiness in their lives. So my Ikigai, I realize, is to help others. That's where I get my pure joy. That's when I'm my fullest, I'm my best self, and I can be and help others to be their own best selves, be their own true, authentic selves. And that is my Ikigai, all thanks to this book and the concept. Because Ikigai, if you know, talks about bringing what you are most passionate about all the way to what the world will benefit and value from you. The happiness diet, which is, I think, very timely for this session here and for this week, is thinking about food and what you eat, because it has a big impact on you as well, if you don't realize it. There is a lot that we do, and the food that we eat plays a big role. Think about it a bit, and I would encourage you to take a look at the book. There are other books about mind-gut connection and different things, because when I had experienced my stress and anxiety, there was a pattern. Every time my anxiety would peak, my stomach would get upset and I would need to find the restroom pronto. And I didn't enjoy that experience any bit, but I just didn't know what to do. Every time I went to the doctor would say, just don't eat the food that your stomach doesn't like. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in 2020 that I realized and knew what was causing it. Now I can eat all the food that I was told not to eat, of which includes spices, cheese, desserts. I love my desserts. So it was heartbreaking for me. And now that I've figured out the cause, I have actually found ways to reduce my anxiety, to reduce stress inducers from my life. So the happiness diet has played a profound role in helping me understand what nutrients are needed for my own happiness, and making sure I'm eating fruits, that I'm eating vegetables, I'm eating a balanced plate. The concept of balanced plate, the first one that I read from was from a book or a report from Canada talking about how to reverse diabetes. And as part of that, the balanced meal is half vegetables or greens, 1/4 carb and 1/4 protein. Now it makes all the more sense because I can visually think about my plate and actually break it down into half veggies, half protein, and half carb. The little book of Huga is another profound effect. And you'll see that the concepts and ideas are all the way from the east to the west and in between. And the concept of Huga is about the Danish secrets of happy living. You can see the theme. I am chasing happiness for life. And I'm on my own pursuit of happiness. So this book of Huga talks about simple things. Danish sweets, everybody loves their pastries, all the way to lighting a candle and finding comfort in and around the candle during winters, finding comfort with friends and family around you. These are all ways to happy living. Cal Newport's deep work, wow, if there was a book that I didn't know that I was already doing some of those things, it was this book. Deep work helped me realize what it means to do meaningful work. It's not just going from one meeting to the other, it's actually doing some meaningful work. When I focused on my meaningful work, I know Csikszentmihalyi also talks about the concept of flow. I sensed that when I was working on my book. When I started writing Fearless, I would block off 1 hour every day to work on this book. And it wasn't just like I woke up one morning and started doing it, but it actually had a profound effect. I was in that state of productivity that I was actually able to publish 2 books, not just one, in 3 months. And folks have asked me, how do you do that? And I told them it was part deep works concepts and part making sure that I'm actually at the most productive time working on the most important things for me as compared to just keep being busy and keep doing things. The Courage to Be Happy was another one that was important for me. There is a similar book called The Courage to Be Disliked, and they're both, I would say, highly recommended because for you to be happy, you have to let go of certain things. And I didn't realize that. I was holding on to a lot of things in my life. And once I started to let go and let the universe show me the way, my life has unfolded in true reality. Thich Nhat Hanh's The Miracle of Mindfulness is the book that I was mentioning about when you wash the dishes, you wash the dishes. The things you can see only when you slow down. This was important, and I think it had a big change in how I started to slow down my life. Instead of constantly chasing something or trying to do the next project, I started to slow down and take the time to appreciate what is around me. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. I think I found my meaning in helping others, just like Viktor Frankl had done. Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Story of Success. I believe I'm an outlier, and there's a reason for it, but I take pride in being that outlier and creating a new environment, a new world where I belong. The Book of Joy with Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu is definitely a book of joy. Untethered Soul by Michael Isinger definitely opened up my eyes to what it means to go deep into your soul and understand what your soul is trying to communicate. When I would have my stress and anxiety, I would have really vivid, actionable dreams. And I didn't even know why. I was constantly in a state of tension. And some of these books have helped me uncover why that is so. Beth Kempton's Wabi Sabi, I love the concept. And that's why even when I created my first book, A Broken Teacup, I wanted to bring the concept of Wabi Sabi and Kintsugi for real. And when I saw this visual art of the book, of a hand represented through Kintsugi, which is the concept, Japanese concept, talking about bringing all your cracks, whether it's the teacup that broke, you're filling it with gold, and that adds value to it. The Alchemist is probably the one book that I will hold very near and dear to my heart, because I felt like The Alchemist, the book, was following me for the past few years. And I realized I believe in the magic of bringing two worlds together. And I see myself as a mindful soul and an alchemist all in one. Into the Magic Shop by Dr. James Doty. This is where I got the idea of the 10 things that's important for me and creating a vision. And when I'd shared about my book, The Broken Teacup, he had given a profound advice: manifest it. And I believe now the book has taken its own shape and form, and it's become a lot more than I could even imagine for my own self. Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. There's always going to be red lights and yellow lights, but when you power through and find those green lights, your days become much more meaningful, and you become a lot more than you could have even imagined for your own self. Jonathan Livingstone Seagull has been the book that showed me what it means to challenge the norm, to challenge the status quo and ask why. And don't just take things for granted. Same was the case with Simon Sinek's Start With Why. Asking why has become a core of who I am and what I do. Finding Sisu, another book about courage, strength, and happiness in a Finnish way. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron helped me understand what it means to unlock your creativity. And then Adam Smiley Polosky's The Quarter Life Breakthrough, because I felt like the past year, 2021, has been my breakthrough and has given me the opportunity to be who I really am and stop worrying about what other people will think. So thank you so much for joining me and being part of this B Shop, where we talked about quite a few things: your personal goals, your reality, your options, what you will do next, and your personal OKRs. Thank you, gracias. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and follow some of my work on Substack with divmanickam.substack.com. Inspire, influence, and impact. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. And I look forward to hearing more from each of you. Take care. Ciao.